Okay, well, maybe he told you about this, maybe he didn't. But there's a fun little bit of musicality to Japanese trains.
Oh.
Many of the stations, especially if you're in Tokyo, for example, have departure melodies. It's actual music that has been composed by a musician. There's a few musicians that get employed for this sort of thing. One in particular is fairly famous, and he actually enjoys a reputation as being the most played musician in the world just because of how many people hear his music. Is the bloke who headed up the jazz fusion band in Japan called Cassiope. He's composed a lot of train melodies, but it is a fascinating world, these Japanese train melodies. Let's explore.
Public transportation systems around the world tend to have a combination of sounds that make up its own unique sonic identity. And if you've ever been to London,
mind the gap between the train and the platform.
This is
Edgware Road.
Or New York City,
Clear of the closing doors, please.
Yep, I relate to this one. I relate to this one. Because I've actually taken these
you
trains
might be
before.
familiar with these sounds. But while these sounds might be unique, they're not exactly pleasant. And that's why in Japan, they take a different approach to shaping the public transport's sonic identity by using short, crafted musical ideas. This practice dates back to 1951, when Bungo Taketa Station in the west of Japan started to play the song Kojo no Tsuki on a phonograph to mark train departures.
Are we taking a train or entering a monastery?
That's why I was laughing.
The composer of the piece,
That's why I
Rentaro
was
Taki,
laughing.
was born in Taketa, so authorities presumably came up with the idea in order to add a little local flavor, as well as express their pride in him being from the region. The song itself was actually covered in a jazz arrangement by Thelonious Monk, under the name Japanese Folk Song.
Oh, interesting.
A second departure melody, which
A lot of people don't really know, but most modern Japanese music owes its existence and derives a lot of influence and inspiration from jazz.
called Hasha Melody in Japanese, popped up a couple of decades later on the Keihan Electric Railway at Yodoyabashi Station, inspired by a naval bugle call. Up until this point, stations tended to use loud bells to announce train
That was a
departures.
baseball tune.
It does a bit. Sounds like an organ being playing it.
But these were unpopular with travelers, who found them to be too loud and harsh, diminishing the experience of using public transport, and also got complaints from people living close to stations for the same reason. So after Japan's railways were privatized at the end of the 1980s, JR East, the company that serves the east of Japan, including Tokyo, worked with instrument manufacturer Yamaha to compose departure melodies for Japan's busiest two stations, Shinjuku and Shibuya. They proved to be a hit and were hailed for reducing noise pollution, as well as making it easy to identify which train on which platform was leaving and how long you had left to board the train, therefore reducing the need for passengers to rush in the train station. And things really accelerated in the 1990s when departure melodies started to be used in stations all across Japan.
It's amazing the effect of just a little bit of soothing music can have on masses of people. Because I do remember seeing like old footage of train guards just having to absolutely cram people into trains and people, crowding around the doorways to get in and out of cars. And it's just all of that. I never really noticed that being an issue when I was in Japan, which was long after they started implementing these sorts of measures.
Hundreds of melodies in use today. And while the early melodies were primarily to help train station chaos, as I mentioned, they started to be used for other purposes in the 2000s. By far the most common purpose is to highlight something of significance that is local to the area where the station is located. These are called local departure melodies. So similar to the way composer Rantaro Taki was honored back in 1951 in the first ever train departure melody, a local departure melody might be using a famous song from an artist born in that region, like the song Sukiyaki being played at KQ Kawasaki Station in honor of Kawasaki-born crooner Kyu Sakamoto.
May have to mute this.
They,
But it's not just limited to honoring people. Kamagome Station in Tokyo, in an area known as the birthplace of a particular variety of cherry blossom trees, uses the song Sakura Sakura, a traditional Japanese folk song depicting the spring, which is typically when these trees bloom.
Resort, welcome in.
Hey.
Hello there.
We are exploring the whole world of Japanese train melodies.
I would like to say this. One of the other purposes that come from this, and it was mentioned earlier on in the video, where it's the very first local departure melody. It gives a sense of basically national pride, but on a much more smaller scale, because people from the specific region are going to be very happy about the fact that there's departure music specifically curated for that region.
Yeah, or even something that's iconic being assigned as their departure melody. I forget which station it is, but there's actually one that plays the Godzilla theme as its departure melody.
Wait,
yes,
Yo,
I
that's
kid you
awesome.
not. Yes. It's
All day just to hear.
I know, right? It would it's somewhat stylized, synthesized version, but it is still effectively the same melody that's heard throughout so many Godzilla films.
And Fukaya City, known for cultivating large spring onions, uses a tune translated as the Onion March.
What? Yeah, what is the elevator music kind of? I said it kind of sounds
Another low-hanging
elevator music.
Yeah, just a little bit, doesn't it?
fruit is songs that mention places directly in their lyrics, like legendary pop singer Yumi Matsutoya's song Ame no Station, which translates to Rainy Station, and whose narrative takes place in Nishi Tachikawa Station. Sport
That almost sounds like music you'd hear on like the Japanese version of Sonic CD.
I can kind of hear that.
Much lighter, more relaxing version of Palm Tree Panic or something. Or Quartz Quadrant.
themes are also highlighted quite often, with stations near football or baseball stadiums featuring a team chant. Inspiration sometimes also comes from the fictional world, and a good example of this is the melody of Takadano Baba Station, taken from the anime series Astro Boy, which references the area in the series and whose production company is based there in real life.
That's perfect. I have to mute this to avoid a copyright strike.
Aww.
Well, this is safe. Should be safe.
There have
I mean, how can you be in a bad mood after hearing that?
also been several instances of melodies from Western classical music, as well as tunes made as ads promoting drinks like Coca-Cola, whiskey, and beer. Now, while all of these categories cover a significant number of stations, there are also a ton of original melodies that have been crafted specifically to be used as train departure melodies. Minoru Mukaya is one of the most
That's him. Minoru Mukaya. He's the former, I guess he's like the lead performer for Cassiope, the Japanese jazz fusion group. And he has composed so many train melodies. That's pretty much all he does in his retirement years these days, is just come up with train melodies for Japanese train stations.
crafted specifically to be used as train departure melodies. Minoru Mukaya is one of the most prolific composers of these original melodies, having composed hundreds of them for over 100 stations. He got his start as keyboardist for jazz fusion band Cassiopeia in the 70s, and then later founded the company Ongakukan, which spoke to Mukaya's other passion, trains, releasing a popular series of train.
He's a jazz musician and he's a train otaku. I love it.
Simulator
Why
games,
can I imagine
and
him
even
like
building
one of those,
real-life
like, little toy
simulators for
train
crew.
sets?
Say that again?
I said, why can I imagine him like with one of those like, little train sets? That he just like plays over there and goes.
Oh, he does
Free
even.
time.
He does one even better. He has his own private train simulator. I believe we're looking at it right now.
Oh my god.
Training.
Like
So
that's
composing
great.
train departure melodies really is the perfect coming together of his two passions, and makes him a good person to look at when trying to figure out what makes a good train departure melody. Tokyo Metro trains apparently spend an average of 7 seconds on the platform with the doors open, which is really not very long at all. So the first practical characteristic
That's a
is that the
challenge.
melodies need to be efficient and instantly recognizable. Although on regular trains across the country, melodies can be up to 30 seconds long and have more room to develop. When
Resort, I think you were breaking up there. What were you trying to say?
Wait, what?
I think you were.
Your audio was cutting out.
Oh, wait, I didn't say anything.
Oh, all right.
composing the melodies, Mukaya makes sure not to forget the main overarching reason that they started to be preferred over bells at most stations.
聞きやすい音がもちろん大事ですね。
Most
発車メ
important
ロ
thing
ディ
is
ーでなんか
the
気
easy
持
on
ち
the
悪いってな
ear,
った
so
ら
it isn't
元も
beats
子
the
もないので
purpose.
あまりキンキンすると今度耳がガンガンになっちゃうので
It's too high pitched. It's
Before starting on a
irritating.
new melody for a station, he does some deep research on the railway company and the region to ensure the melody will represent their characteristics accurately.
私の発車メロディーは結構そのイメージっていう
How
の
he
ですね
approaches creating
いろ
a
いろ
harsh
その路
melody
線や
is to consider the
そ
railway
してその
company's colours, what they
鉄道会社やなん
represent,
かのまあその
as well as the
コーポレートカラー
region
と
in
か
which the railway
その地域の
operates.
状況とかっていうのを勘案しなが
So
ら
he
です
really
ね
does a deep dive into local
音楽を
flavour
作って保安装置なんだけど
and uses those
心
elements
地
to
よく
compose a pleasant
そし
melody
て
that's also a
機能
functional
も果た
safety
してるっていう
measure.
ものをまあ目標に作ってるんですね昔の東京のエ
You
リ
know,
ア
the
も
neighborhoods in
下町
Tokyo
と
are
呼ばれる
great
とこ
melodies with
そこは
traditional
下町
Japanese
っぽく少
instruments.
しこの和楽器を入れてって
Love that.
で次今度学生街みたいな時行ったとかはそのヤングジェネレーションの方にちょっと音楽的な思考を向けてと
But not only does he
Sensible
take
approach.
into account railway branding and regional characteristics, he'll even travel to the train station itself to see if there are any extra bits of inspiration he can squeeze out from the way that the station is structured.
ほとんど大体乗ったと思います
Been to
こ
almost every
こ
station
の
in
駅だったら
Japan.
例えばこういう
Remember
ふ
the
う
way a
に
train enters
電車
the
が入ってくる
station,
な
it
とかその
curves
カ
and
ーブと
creates
か
a
も
melody
大
that
体覚えて
fits.
るんでこう入ってくる電車にはこういう音楽だろうみたいな感じで作ってますね
One of the melodies he's created was even based on the uphill journey it has to take to the next station.
My favourite. Dun, 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 dun.
But thinking about it
Feels like
further,
a
there
Wii
must be some
channel.
other
Like
I'm
Wii
gonna
or
say-
something.
I was gonna
Uh,
say that's one of my like sports channels.
musical and sonic constraints due to the nature of where these melodies are played.
これはベリーシークレットフォーミュラですけどね
For instance, there tends to be a lot of constant low frequency sounds at train stations, from the sound of passing trains to air conditioning. The speakers used to play these sounds might also not be that large and capable of producing bassy frequencies anyway. So in order to make their melodies cut through, composers have to rely on brighter sounds in higher registers, like percussive synths and bells, while still
That's true. Old outdoor speakers, what's the first thing that goes? It's always the bass.
avoiding it being too grating. Though, as Mukaya said in that earlier clip, he might also include more traditional instruments for more traditional areas. Another consideration is how complex the melody and underlying harmony of the piece is. You can't be doing virtuosic solos over harmonically complex and dissonant chords when people are just trying to get to work. Here's another famous and
Yeah, that's
prolific
not gonna
composer of departure melodies, Hiroshi Shiozuka, talking about how he approaches composing departure melodies.
駅のメロディーが流れてるところって確かに雑踏もあるし、電車の通過音もあるしね。だけどそこの中で皆さんにちゃんと聴いてもらう、そして皆さんの印象に残る音楽、起承転結を描く形で終わる10秒ぐらいの音楽を作って皆さんの度肝を抜いてやろうと、そういう気持ちで作ってました。
And he also touches on the concept of a climax,
That can be really hard to pull off, harder than you think. I mean, you only have 10 seconds to work with. And you would think, oh, you just come up with a catchy little jingle and that's it. Now, that time constraint, that alone, I think, that makes it a pretty hard job what they've got to do. So,
Well, not only that, you have to make it unique.
yes. Yeah, you can't just do little tiny variations on one theme and think, oh, done. Nah, that's not going to work.
Which is an important one. Since these melodies ultimately tell the user when the boarding is ending, it's crucial that they convey a sense of finality, so that even someone who isn't intimately familiar with the melody can tell when it's about to end. For that reason, these melodies can employ tricks like using ascending or descending sequences to mimic motion, and using perfect cadences to signal that the piece is complete. Some can even make the use of a changing tempo, for instance, slowing down towards the end of a piece to really drive the point home. Mukaya has done so many of them that he even started to get more ambitious. On several lines where he composed all the melodies, he has made it so that each station's melody follows on from the previous one, so that if you travel along the whole line, you can listen to a larger, more complete composition, like on the Tokyo Metro's Tozai line.
Look at that.
Oh my god.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant.
Now, we've been focusing so far on the departure melodies, but there is actually a concept of an approach melody as well, for when the train is arriving. These tend to draw from the same inspiration well as the departure melodies, and still serve the purpose of allowing passengers to identify which train is approaching. But these are less time critical, and therefore they're often longer. With so many melodies deployed across Japan, it's also no surprise that this has attracted a group of superfans called Ototetsu, who avidly keep track of new or changing melodies and share recordings with each other online. There have also been official
I have seen some of these YouTube channels, and yeah, it's almost encyclopedic sometimes. The way they keep track of these things. It's genuinely, it's levels of autism I didn't think were possible, but here we are.
Levels of autism.
It's a level of enlightenment very few reach.
Right. But you know, it's fun, and everybody needs a hobby, so you know you can't fault them for that.
CD releases of collections of departure melodies, cementing their place as works of art
they even got
rather
CDs.
than just a functional sound. And with the high degree of care poured into each original melody in order to capture the local flavor, as well as the frequency with which they're heard by locals, they've become audio postcards, tiny cultural ambassadors that turn each station into a sonic landmark. So presumably, as these melodies get phased out and replaced, as they are being in certain places, they will also become sources of nostalgia for people, just like visiting an old neighborhood or your childhood home. If you enjoyed this video, there are more videos over here for you to check out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so on Patreon or buy me a coffee, or you can come join our Discord community. The links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Mixed Signals. Bye bye.
Mixed signals, okay.
Yes.
We are giving that a like, and there's the link in chat for everybody.